Love is the one thing we all claim to want, yet when it arrives, most of us find ways to reject it, sabotage it, or convince ourselves we don't deserve it. We crave connection but run from intimacy. We long to be understood but hide behind walls. We say we want to be loved, yet when someone offers it freely, we question their intentions, their sincerity, their ability to truly see us. Why does this happen? Why does something so essential, something that should feel natural, instead feel like a threat? Why is it easier to push love away than to accept it? The answer is not simple, but it is deeply human. From the moment we are born, we are dependent on love. As infants, we do not survive without it. We need care, attention, warmth, reassurance. But as we grow, we begin to encounter love's conditions. We learn that love is sometimes given and sometimes withheld. We learn that love can be taken away. We learn that love is not always safe. For some, this lesson is subtle, a quiet realization that approval must be earned. For others, it is violent, a betrayal that shatters trust. Either way, the message is planted. Love is not guaranteed, and to need it is dangerous. If love can be lost, then accepting it fully means risking pain, and so we begin to protect ourselves. The most common way we protect ourselves is by rejecting love before it has the chance to reject us. We tell ourselves we don't need it, that we are fine alone, that vulnerability is weakness. We convince ourselves that love is a distraction, that it is unpredictable, that it is safer to rely only on ourselves.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
We build identities around independence, around self-sufficiency, around the idea that needing others is a flaw. But beneath this, there is always fear. Fear that if we open ourselves to love, we will be abandoned. Fear that if we allow someone to see us completely, they will find something unlovable. Fear that love, once accepted, will only leave us emptier when it goes. But here is where the contradiction begins. Love is the one thing that makes life meaningful. We are wired for connection. We thrive in relationships, in closeness, in the warmth of being truly seen. The happiest moments in life are rarely about achievements, possessions, or status. They are about love. Love given, love received, love experienced in its purest form. And yet we run from it. We push away the very thing that gives life depth. And we do it not because love itself is painful, but because we associate love with loss. The mind clings to past wounds, past betrayals, past rejections, and projects them onto the present. Even when love is real, even when it is safe, we struggle to believe in it. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to accept criticism, but how hard it is to accept compliments? How one negative comment lingers in the mind for days, while 100 kind words are forgotten in minutes. This is how the human brain works. We are wired to remember pain more than pleasure, to anticipate threats more than opportunities. It is a survival mechanism. But when applied to love, it becomes a prison. We hold on to the love that hurt us and discard the love that heals us. We assume history will repeat itself, so we sabotage love before it has the chance to prove us wrong. And yet, no matter how much we push love away, we still crave it. We still long for it. We still search for it in different forms, through achievements, through recognition, through distractions that temporarily numb the void. We seek validation from the world, mistaking it for love. We chase perfection, hoping it will make us worthy. We pretend we don't care, but deep down we do. No one is truly indifferent to love. The only difference is how much we allow ourselves to admit it. But what if the real problem is not love itself, but our ability to receive it? What if the difficulty is not in finding love, but in believing we deserve it? What if the hardest thing about love is not giving it, but accepting it without conditions, without defenses, without fear? Love requires openness, and openness feels dangerous. To accept love fully means to let go of control, to allow another person to affect us, to trust in something we cannot predict. And trust, for many, is the hardest thing of all. So the question is, how do we change this? How do we move from fear to acceptance? How do we allow love in when every instinct tells us to push it away? The first step is awareness. We must recognize our patterns, our fears, our defenses. We must see how we resist love, how we dismiss kindness, how we create distance even when we crave closeness. We must understand that rejecting love does not protect us, it only isolates us. Avoiding pain also avoids joy. The second step is willingness. Love cannot be forced, but it can be chosen. We can choose to stay open even when it feels uncomfortable. We can choose to let people in even when it feels risky. We can choose to believe in love even when the past has given us reasons to doubt it. But the most important step, the step that changes everything, is self-love. The way we accept love from others is a reflection of how we accept love from ourselves. If we believe we are unworthy, we will reject love no matter how sincerely it is given. If we carry shame, we will assume love is temporary. If we do not trust ourselves, we will not trust those who love us. The work of accepting love is, at its core, the work of accepting ourselves. Love cannot fill a void that we refuse to acknowledge. No matter how much love someone gives us, if we do not believe we deserve it, we will find a way to push it away. But here's the truth. Love is not something to be earned. It is not a reward for perfection. It is not given only to those who are flawless, unbroken, or without past mistakes. Love is given because it is meant to be given. It is not about being worthy, it is about being human. And being human means being imperfect, being vulnerable, being open even when it is terrifying. Love is not a transaction. It is not something we must qualify for, it is something we must allow. So here is the ultimate question: what would happen if we stopped resisting love? What would change if we allowed ourselves to receive it without questioning, without doubting, without fearing its loss? What if love, instead of being a risk, became the foundation of everything we do? And if love is the one thing that makes life truly meaningful, why do we keep running from it? Love is supposed to be the most natural thing in the world, yet for so many, it feels unnatural, difficult, almost like something that has to be earned rather than something that simply is. The problem is not love itself, but the way the mind processes it. Love is not always rejected consciously. It is often pushed away through subtle, unnoticed patterns. Disbelief in its sincerity, questioning its longevity, assuming it comes with hidden conditions. The mind does not resist love because it wants to suffer. It resists love because it has been trained to see love as something unreliable, something that can be taken away, something that might hurt more than it heals. The human brain is wired for survival, not for happiness. This is why it holds on to painful experiences more than joyful ones. A single moment of rejection can outweigh years of affection. A single betrayal can create a lifetime of distrust. The brain does not do this to punish, it does it to protect. If love has been a source of pain in the past, the brain assumes it will be a source of pain again. It builds walls. It creates distance. It chooses loneliness over vulnerability, not because loneliness is preferable, but because it is predictable, and predictability, even when painful, feels safer than uncertainty. This is why so many people unconsciously sabotage relationships. Love is unfamiliar. Love is unpredictable. Love requires trust, and trust is risky. It is easier to control isolation than to control love. It is easier to push people away than to let them close enough to hurt. People say they want love, but when they have it, they find fault in it. They become suspicious of kindness. They look for flaws. They test the other person's patience. They create problems where none exist, not because they want to lose love, but because losing love on their own terms feels less painful than losing it unexpectedly. This is not a rational process. It is emotional, deeply ingrained, often invisible to the one experiencing it, but it is not permanent. The way love is perceived can be rewritten. The first step is recognizing the pattern. Love resistance hides in excuses. Convincing oneself that relationships never work, that people always leave, that it's better to be alone than to risk another heartbreak. These thoughts feel like truths, but they are defenses. They are not reality, they are responses to past pain. The second step is questioning the source. Where did the belief that love is dangerous come from? Was it from a childhood where affection was conditional? Was it from a betrayal that proved trust could be broken? Was it from a relationship where love was given and then suddenly withdrawn? The way love is received now is shaped by every experience that came before. Identifying the source does not erase the wound, but it makes it visible, and what is visible can be changed. The third step is choosing a different response. The natural instinct might be to pull away when love is offered, to dismiss kind words, to downplay affection. Instead of following that instinct, there has to be a pause, a conscious decision to accept love, even if it feels uncomfortable. This does not mean blindly trusting everyone. It means allowing love to exist without immediately assuming it is temporary or insincere. It means giving love a chance before deciding it will fail. The fourth step is self-worth. The way love is accepted is directly tied to how worthy of love one feels. If deep down there is a belief that love must be earned, that love is conditional, that love is for others but not for oneself, then no amount of external love will ever be enough. It will always be doubted. It will always feel fragile. This belief must be confronted. Love is not something deserved only by the perfect, the flawless, the ones who have never made mistakes. Love is meant for the broken, the uncertain, the ones who have been hurt before. Love is not a prize for those who are worthy. It is a reality that exists whether one feels ready for it or not. The final step is staying open. Love will always come with risk. There is no guarantee that it will last. There is no certainty that it will not change. But the alternative, living without love, rejecting closeness, choosing isolation, is not safety. It is a slow erosion of the soul. Love is not about avoiding pain. It is about deciding that the joy of connection is worth the risk. The question is not whether love is possible, it is whether love will be allowed. And if love is allowed, Will it be fully received, or will it always be held at arm's length, feared more than cherished? Love is often imagined as something soft, something easy, something that simply feels good. This is why so many people are caught off guard when real love arrives, and instead of feeling safe, it feels overwhelming, unsettling, even terrifying. The truth is that real love is not comfortable. It is disruptive. It forces change. It exposes insecurities. It demands vulnerability. It does not allow the walls carefully built over the years to remain standing. It reaches inside, finds the hidden wounds, and brings them to the surface. This is why love often feels like a threat instead of a gift. The mind has spent years developing defense mechanisms to survive, to avoid pain, to maintain control. Love is the opposite of control. It is unpredictable. It does not operate by logic alone. It cannot be neatly categorized or managed. It asks for trust when trust has been broken before. It asks for openness when experience has taught that openness leads to hurt. It asks for presence when the instinct is to escape. Love does not let a person remain who they were before it arrived. It changes everything. And change, even when it is good, is uncomfortable. This is why many people sabotage love without realizing it. The discomfort is mistaken for a warning, a signal that something is wrong, when in reality it is proof that something real is happening. Love shines a light on the parts of the self that have been hidden, the parts that were easier to ignore. Love brings up fears that were buried beneath distractions. It challenges the belief that love must be earned, that it must be perfect to be real, that it must be free of conflict to be safe. Love does not erase fear, it coexists with it. The presence of fear in love does not mean something is wrong, it means something important is at stake. The mistake is believing that love should always feel effortless. Anything meaningful requires effort. Love is no exception. The discomfort of love is not a signal to run, it is an invitation to grow. But growth requires a choice, to lean in instead of pull away, to stay present instead of retreating into old patterns, to trust even when trust feels unnatural. The secret to embracing love without fear is not to wait until fear disappears. It is to move forward despite it. Fear will always whisper that it is safer to be alone, that love is unpredictable, that it is better to protect the heart than to risk it. But protection is not the same as living. A life without love is not a safe life, it is an empty one. The question is not whether love will be uncomfortable, it will be. The question is whether the discomfort will be mistaken for danger or recognized as transformation. And if love is the one thing that makes life truly meaningful, is the discomfort not worth it?